think that what we have to recognize within a statute of limitations is the ability for a victim to come forward.
As I address you here today, I can't help but recall my own experience, my own trauma, as I too am a victim of domestic violence. With me here today is Evan Rachel Wood, a survivor and advocate for domestic violence issues.
When I was a teenager, I met a man. I looked up to him in many ways and felt like we had a special bond, and I had no intention of it turning into something romantic. When it eventually did, I wasn't sure how to stop it, as he had a certain charisma and power, and I quickly surrendered to his charms. In the beginning, he treated me like a princess. I was smart, but a smart 18-year-old is still an 18-year-old, and I thought I had fell in love. It wasn't until much later that I realized everything he had told me was a lie and part of what is called the grooming process. He'd hidden a terrible drug and alcohol problem from me. He moved very fast in the relationship, asking me to move in with him almost immediately. There was a certain way he wanted me to look, otherwise I would endure name-calling and ridicule. He cut me off from my close friends and family one by one by exhibiting rage in some form or another when I was in contact with them. The only way I knew how to calm him was to give him what he wanted, which was me all to himself in total isolation. He had bouts of extreme jealousy, which would often result in him wrecking our home, cornering me in a room, and threatening me. I witnessed my abuser threatening people with force or legal action if he worried they would expose him. He bragged about being able to have people killed because he was allegedly friends with multiple gangs, and I watched him illegally collect data on people that he could use as blackmail. By the time I realized I was in a bad situation, I felt completely trapped and terrified for my life. He gifted me a cell phone, which I found out he was monitoring. He downloaded spyware onto my computer and hacked into my emails and social media accounts so I could not reach out for help. When my friends and family tried to intervene, I swiftly told them to leave because I was afraid of what he would do. He broke me down through means of starvation, sleep deprivation, and threats against my life, sometimes with deadly weapons, which would result in me having severe panic attacks where I was unable to breathe or stop shaking. Sometimes he would not allow me to sleep until I participated in acts of fear, pain, torture, and humiliation, which I felt powerless to stop. In some of these tapes, which he also videotaped, in some of these tapes, he can be heard threatening to kill me, threatening my friends, or threatening to kill members of my family. He also threatened to leak parts of the footage or photographs he had taken as a way to keep me quiet. I mustered the courage to leave several times, but he would call my house incessantly and threaten to kill himself. On one occasion, I returned to try and defuse the situation. He cornered me in our bedroom and asked me to kneel while he tied me up by my hands and feet. Once I was restrained, he beat me and shocked sensitive parts of my body with a torture device called a violet wand. To him, it was a way for me to prove my loyalty. The worst part was I still felt it was somehow my fault because society had told me I should just leave when someone hits me, but this was so much more complicated and so much scarier than anything had ever prepared me for. I didn't know what to call it. After this incident, I played along with whatever he wanted, enduring constant daily abuse and on occasion rape, until I found a way to escape safely. Years later, my therapist would identify this as Stockholm Syndrome. Once I was finally out of my abuser's control, I did whatever I could to feel safe, which meant putting time and space between me, him, and the abuse. The shame is still overwhelming, and it's taken all of my strength to speak publicly and to pursue this. Even today, the fear of being judged by society is debilitating, and the fear of retaliation from my abuser is paralyzing. By speaking to you today and every day, I put myself at risk as I have no protection. I've had to go through intense therapy to even fully understand what has happened to me, and I've been diagnosed with complex PTSD. I'm still in the process of working through this. The final push into creating the Phoenix Act was the crushing realization years later that he had done this to several people, and it was very likely there were more victims. So I tried to take my evidence to the state in an attempt to stop this from happening to anyone else. My evidence included photographs and video, not just relying on memory. It cannot be viewed by the state because the statute of limitations on my case has run out, and I've lived with the silence and shame for too long, and it has been unbearable. It's taken years from my life because I was too afraid to tell anyone. I know that this bill will not affect my case, but I urge you to vote yes on the Phoenix Act to create a cushion for victims to leave their dangerous situations, get the help they need, and come back from their trauma in order to pursue justice and stop serial abusers as long as they have undeniable evidence. We do not wish to create new laws or harsher punishments, only more time if the evidence meets the criteria we are putting forward. Thank you for your time and for hearing us today.
And Madam Chair, I'm sorry I failed to also...
Persons who are subject to intimate partner abuse are in very vulnerable circumstances. And all of those vulnerabilities contribute to their both inability to get out of that abusive situation and then to report it. And I want to create a better justice system for people in those circumstances and give them the time to heal so that they can then come forward. Roll call.
Motion is to pass as amended to appropriations. Skinner?
Aye.
Skinner, aye. Morlock? Bradford? Aye. Bradford, aye. Jackson? Mitchell? Aye. Mitchell, aye. Morrell? Weiner? Aye. Weiner, aye.
Bill's on call, but we will continue that vote once people return. And now I'll be presenting on SB 516, and I will ask Senator Weiner if you would be the